So we're going back on stage again. We're going to be live in the Cork Opera House on March 30th for a very special event, which is going to form part of the Cork Podcast Festival. Our show is called Look Who's Talking. It's going to be all about those criminals. How do we get them into studio? How do we get up close and personal with them? And what have they got to say when the cameras are off? So Cork Opera House, tickets from corkpodcastfestival.ie, 30th of March. See you there.
Nathan McDonnell's got quite famous, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, yeah. Well, why? What are you referring to there?
Well, he's made the Irish Times,
and which is one level of fame. But he made Waterford Whispers, which is a whole other level of fame as well.
He would have at one point, I'm sure, really desired to be a kind of have a profile of him in the Irish Times. And as Kathy Sheridan, who wrote it, explains, he sort of relished that image of the CEO.
Yeah.
You know, and business leader that had done so well and had brought that family business to a new level, that he'd worked so hard.
Yeah.
And of course, despite the rumours that things began to crumble in 2007, she details how he borrowed money and kind of, you know, but nobody really has exactly sort of the answers as to what point did he say, I'm going to get into bed at the Sinaloa Cartel.
Well,
we know what point, but why?
Well, I also know, I mean, I've also got a number of people contacting me saying, you know, various things about Nathan McDonnell that you know, that aren't proven, but that he wasn't, it didn't go from white to black in one quick step.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, you'd have to consider that was the case,
yes.
Of course. I mean, there is a lot of people out there, and it was referred to somewhat in court about sort of addiction and lifestyle issues.
Yes.
And there seems to be suggestions that lifestyle, that luxury car, the well-cut suits, the kind of all of that went along with a usage of coke. So, I mean, that wouldn't be surprising, would it? I mean, I don't think that's going to damage his reputation by me saying at this stage.
No, it's not going to damage his reputation, but I mean,
you're helping to move €32 million worth of crystal meth across the world. You know, the chances are you probably...
You've moved 32 euros before, at the very least. And also, of course, you did see the Waterford Whispers story, working class. This is a direct reference to your story that you broke about him being beaten up in prison.
Oh yeah,
the Waterford Whispers story is working class criminal, which is he made front page every time he was beaten up.
I kind of said that.
You did say that.
I did say that. I said prison's a dangerous place, and it's just, you know, middle class manners maybe don't fit in. Speaking of which, by the way, Nathan McDonnell is back on the landing that he left in Portlaoise Prison.
Yeah,
Block A he was in.
Yeah,
and he was of course jumped down there by a criminal called Glenn Thompson, who was part of a Kinahan hit team that went out to kill Patsy Hutch, the monk's brother, but were caught in the process of that. And he's back, and apparently he's getting on with things in prison. He's got his head down. He's just trying to make the best of it. Thompson has been moved off that landing, and the investigations continue as to what that set to was about. Was it just that Thompson is a volatile figure, took umbrage against somebody who was a different type than him from a different part of the country and not the same background? Or was there pressure being put on McDonald to move drugs around the prison? That's still unknown. And you know,
again, it goes to a lot of what people have been saying. They've been asking in connection with James Leen, who was due to come before the courts probably later this year, again before the Special Criminal Court, in relation to the same 32 million euro seizure of the crystal meth. James Leen is charged with similar offences to Nathan McDonnell, but he will go to trial because he's pled not guilty.
Right.
Unlike Nathan McDonnell, who pled guilty at a very early stage. Our Sunday World reporter Patrick O'Connell spoke to Nathan McDonnell's solicitor over the weekend, and he described the fact that Nathan McDonnell, he said, is not going to be giving evidence against James Leen. And he also explained partly why, because they are co-accused. This is something that I think I had heard of, but it's not, I suppose, something that we come across regularly. But basically, he said under Irish law, the co-accused can't give evidence against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So Nathan McDonnell and James Leen were due to go on trial together for the same drugs plot, or where that would mean that under Irish law that you cannot be forced to give evidence against a co-accused if you're both being tried in the same proceedings. So I suppose something equivalent would be in the Regency Hotel trial, murder trial, which we're all familiar with. We had 3 men in the dock. We had Jason Bonney, Paul Murphy and Jared Hutch. And they were all being tried simultaneously. So the evidence wasn't repeated. People can apply to have the trial held separately. But at that point, all 3 were in the dock every day. Now, initially, Jonathan Dowdall was tried alongside them. But obviously, because of the circumstances, his trial was separated out and kept separately. So that never occurred with Nathan McDonnell and James Leen. He just pled early. So he won't be giving evidence. Now, I don't know if he obviously, there was, I think it was heard during Nathan McDonnell's sentencing hearing that there was 19 interviews with Gardaí, was there? And we heard some of the details of them. So I don't know if they can be admitted, but he certainly won't be giving evidence in that trial.
Okay. So Leen is 41 years of age, and he's a very different character to Nathan McDonnell as well, isn't he? And of course, during Nathan McDonnell's sentencing, we did hear, and the Gardaí accepted, that he was in fear of him, that Leen was walking in and out of that Ballyseedy company, that he was, at one point he was seen on CCTV. McDonnell would later say he was frightened by him, and he was seen, they agreed, he looked aggressive and all the rest of it. So he was seen as a sort of a more important, or the state will argue that he was a more important cog in that wheel.
Yeah, now James Leen, of course, will get a chance to say, to give his own side of those events, including looking threatening. He may have a different perspective. James Leen is from Kerry as well. He comes from a very well-known family. Some members of the family have been involved in politics. James Leen has run a number of businesses, has a number of businesses registered to his name. He would have been very different than Nathan McDonnell. I mean, Nathan McDonnell certainly was being courted by political figures down there as, a possible candidate. Fine Gael would later say they were never approached him to run for the general election. But that was a rumour that really went on. I mean, they said that on the record to us. But Nathan McDonnell was meeting with, and there's pictures of him meeting with all sorts of ministers. And, he was appearing on Virgin Media afternoon shows. James Leen wouldn't have been at that type, let's put it that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's certainly pled not guilty, and that's the case. But yeah, a different type of character. Nathan McDonnell, when we heard at his sentencing, we heard a few more updates this week, I suppose. His solicitor again came out and said it was a swinging sentence, I think is how it's pronounced.
I've never heard that word.
No, I think it's a...
View?
Well, it's a kind of an old word. I have heard it.
Obviously an old word.
Yeah, I mean, it's a...
Swinging.
Yeah, I think it means severe. But it's probably...
Lawyers love using all those old words.
They
Dictionary, severe or extreme in size, amount or effect. Swinging cuts in public expenditure.
Well, that's actually where you do hear it. Like it's
real swallow a dictionary.
But I mean, we can't talk as tabloid reporters. Yeah. I mean, somebody was saying the other day, oh, he's a boffin. I was going, what?
Oh, I know that word, boffin.
Yeah. But that's not a word that people are going around using, is it? Boffins. Maybe they are in the Talent household.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Interestingly, his wife, Jackie O'Duffy McDonald, sort of popped her head up. Now, she is originally from Dublin, I think, and in her own way was fairly well known on social media. she has not spoken up to this point, but she gave an interview to the Mail on Sunday saying that she loves her husband and she vowed to stand by him as he starts this 12-year prison sentence.
Yeah, I mean, she says that she was standing by him. The sentencing of a man you are in love with is awful, but I'm standing by him 100%. But, I suppose now we know what we are facing and we can try and plan for the future. This is following the sentencing. This was not in my life plan. God, no, it's a blow. It's what we have been dealt with. It is what it is.
And she also said it was a momentary madness.
Yeah. Well, it was a momentary madness, but of course you hear during the trial that it was a bit longer than a moment because it did go on for
sure, yeah.
For a number of months.
Momentary madness.
No.
She's also said that she has to now kind of come up with a plan to move forward, which is beneficial to all of us, and she has to think about what's best for her boys. The court heard the other day that Nathan McDonnell is the father of 3 primary school boys, which I thought was the most stark point of that lengthy sentence he got, that, they are going to be coming out as young adults by the time he's finished that prison term. And she says the whole thing has been horrific from start to finish, but so long as Nathan is okay and the boys are okay, that's all I can hope for.
Yeah.
And she says that she can't understand how he became entangled with the Sinaloa drug cartel. It's against everything I know him to be. Nathan has 4 sisters and he's very much loved brother and son. He's a very honourable man. He's done an awful lot for the community. He's done an awful lot of work for charity and he's done an awful lot for this town. Now, all of that was actually brought up in mitigation during the sentencing, and Justice Melanie Greeley considered all that. But, it's not enough to keep you out of prison when you've been entangled with the Sinaloa, that you were charitable and you employed people.
Yeah.
And she says, I can only conclude it was a moment of madness on his part. I think once he agreed, he couldn't go back on it. Yeah, I definitely believe once he agreed, he couldn't go back on it. And I mean, I think that is probably the real takeaway from all of this story, that, here is somebody, okay, he may be in some financial difficulty, but this 150,000 isn't going to get him out of that. But once you do agree and once you let these people in, there is no way out. You have to follow things through.
No, you do. And obviously we know that some of the members of that Sinaloa Cartel, we have been told before that the pressure, because they were operating, of course, in that part of the country as well as being an international operation. And we do know that there was tremendous pressure put on a number of people, and some people are suspected of taking their own lives because of pressure that was put on them. But Nathan McDonnell, all of that is true, but you can also see one of the other charge he was convicted of was the facilitation, and his facilitation it runs through that whole case as well, in that he wasn't just used as a ghillie, as for somewhere to store it. He becomes involved in the actual operation of getting that piece of machinery into Ireland and then and attempting to get it onto Australia, and using his own personal contacts to make that happen. So look, it's a story that's really caught the public attention for various reasons. Some of it is as Waterford Whispers are accurately point out, is the fact that his class background, I suppose, and in part the background of people like his wife, that it makes it more stand out, I suppose, because it really is, the fact that from El Chapo Guzman to Ballyseedy Garden Centre, it's only one step. It is quite amazing.
His wife talks about there's a finality in knowing. There's been sort of this year of whatever. It's like anything. It's finally they know. He knows what he has to do. And in a way, the reports about how he's gone back to jail just to get on with it now is really that.
Yeah.
And as well for the family, at least you can make a plan.
Oh, totally. I mean, if he'll serve, another 8 years. So, and towards the end of that sentence, because if he's a long-term prisoner and he is well behaved, which you imagine he certainly has made a commitment to be, he may start getting some sort of temporary release during that time. He may get into an open prison where he'd be allowed further rehabilitate, I suppose, and have some time out. But yeah, so he knows what he's facing. and he might as well get on with it. And people, and look, the other thing is there's been there's plenty of people who've ended up in prison for extended periods of time, and he'll come out a relatively young man, and he will have another...
He'll have a story to tell.
He'll have a story to tell, and he'll have another life to live. It is just going to be a vastly different one than he had before he got mixed up in all of this.
Absolutely. Okay, Niall.
Thanks, Nicola. Robbie Lawler was out of control.
This is Double Cross, the murder of Robbie Lawler.
It was going to be an all-out war with him in the middle of it.
A Crime World special investigation podcast based on my new book, Web of Betrayal, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Nicola Tallant and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.